welcome.
Good.
Everybody, I'm going to turn this over to Bill. You're going to still see my screen. He's going to kind of talk me through what he wants to see as if he was doing it. But Bill, again, is an expert on our CM program in general. And these are going to be great examples of some differences in mission codes for radio, different radio missions, and also different opcons. So over to Bill.
Thank you, Chris. Let's start by opening a new activity log, please. And it'll be for radio. No, sorry. Let's do a unit individual first.
Very good.
Okay. Now, what we're going to assume here is that the time that we're going to report is the time spent on a VHF net. So you can leave the unit to default, but the opcon is going to be for the, in this case, it's also going to be for the defaults. So it will stay as the 11th Southern District. Then you'll go up to the operations code. The operations code is going to be 20 Bravo, 20 Bravo.
Okay.
Sorry, mission code is
right. Yeah, that's easily confused, operations code and mission code. So 20 Bravo, right?
Correct. And there will be basically no operations code for something like this. No activity code. Mission start time will be whatever pick a date, any date. Tuesday's a good one. And time would be 7 p.m. And 1 hour. Summary of activities. What you want to do is say VHF net or VHF administrative net or whatever the name of the net is, so that you can later go back and recognize what it is that you have to tie it to in terms of the actual activity. There's nothing else that you need to add here, so we can just go save. And then just as we did with all of the others, we'll go up and go to add member and select your ID and what will identify you, and add members. Change the position from none to lead, and then update. Now it's exactly the way it was before. We have to go back to the details screen, change the review status from open to approval requested, and then save it. And that's all there is to it. By and large, it is true that for almost everything, if you are operating in a VHF spectrum in communications, the mission code will be 20 Bravo and the opcon will be the district. And so you don't have to worry about that. So now let's do another one. This will be a different one. This will be one we're still going to do unit individual, but now we're going to be talking about participating in a high frequency net. The unit stays the same, but the opcon changes. Now, in order to change it, you type in COMM, and you pick the first one, Coast Guard Communications Command, otherwise known as COMCOM. The reason for this, if anybody wants to know the reason behind it, is that for the HF activity in the Coast Guard Auxiliary, the chain of command is from the headquarters to the Coast Guard Communications Command to a member at the national level, Division Vice Chief for Division Chief for Telecommunications, down to probably a branch chief, and then to people like myself who are in a position that's referred to as an HF net manager. So that's why all the orders, even though they are not individually issued, the orders come from Coast Guard Communications Command, and that's why the opcon is that. So now it becomes essentially the same. Mission code in this case is likely to be Coast Guard operations support. So 07 Delta is the usual one, not always, but the usual one. An activity code in a general case, that doesn't change. And now you just put in the time and date, date and time, let's put it that way. And then everything else works exactly the same way as it did in the other. You save it, then go add a member. And we save it. Now we just go change the review status and we're done.
Perfect.
Okay, now one more, because there's a strange situation which probably will be changed, but for the time being, we need to show you how to do it when you are associating the mission or the activity with a facility rather than just a member. So you come down here and select radio, and I try and keep my hand off my mouse. I keep trying to do that. Doesn't help here. Okay, you'll notice here, there is no opportunity to put in an opcon. You leave the unit the same, but now you want to identify the facility involved. So just pick whichever one you want, doesn't matter which one it is.
I'm gonna try and pick a radio one.
Oh yeah, sorry, I wasn't paying any attention to the.
Yeah, there.
Yeah, that'll work. Yep.
Okay.
And now you do the mission code. Again, it's probably going to be Coast Guard support, so 07 Delta. And the time and date. Now here, when you do the activity, you identify what the activity is, but more importantly, you need to identify here that this was an HF activity. So therefore, you need to perhaps put in the facility ID. In the HF world, for us, we use a code that is the, let's see, November Mike 114 Zulu Zulu. Is that what it was, Chris?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, and then the same last steps.
Yeah, the same last steps.
Yep, same last steps. The answer. You want me to answer that? The chat.
I'm not monitoring the chat completely. Okay. If you see one that you want to answer, go for it. The other thing, just for everyone on the call's edification, just tell them when you would request orders for a radio mission through AUXDATA II or through the old AOM. When would you request orders and receive approval from the OA versus just a regular member activity?
Essentially, the difference is whenever you would have to actually move, whether you're actually moving a facility or whether you're just personally moving in order to carry out the activity, then you require orders. If not, if you're using your station at home, for example, and you don't have to move anywhere, for that you do not necessarily require orders. There are some situations that are unique to the radio world where there will be orders issued for things, even if you're actually not moving. But as a general rule, you'll know about that when the mission comes up. So the simple answer to the question is, if you physically have to move, you need orders. If you don't have to move, you don't need orders.
Okay, very good. Now I've scanned some of the chat questions, and one from Bill Calderwood came up last week as well. How about shares? How do we mission code the shares missions?
07 Delta.
Roger that. Now, I see another one of, I usually associate 20 Bravo and 07 with my radio facility. And that is kind of, Bill's just talked about it. We've been seeing it both ways, and I'm not 100% convinced that there's either a right or a wrong, but you can see the difference. If you go in with a new activity and you select radio instead of unit individual, you can't put OpCon in. So that's a disadvantage, especially if you want to for an HF mission. But you do associate it directly with your facility. Okay, other than that, it's basically essentially the same. Bill and I talked about this the other day, and with unit individual, if you also want to associate it with your facility, at least informally, you could use the summary of activities or remarks to put in your facility ID there. Bill, if you have anything different on that, jump in.
Nope, that's fine. That's exactly right. That's what we agreed with.
Okay. All right. Moderators, do you have any questions? I didn't scroll the whole chat. Any others that we should tackle now? And if not, we're going to go into, I was going to show you a little bit of how the IS officers approve, how they, okay. All right, Bill.
Sure, I'm here.
Very good.
If you can go back to the facilities page, there we go. What we're going to do is we're going to do two kinds of facilities. Well, actually, three kinds of facilities, but one group is a subset. These are going to be, for radio facilities, they're divided into two big chunks, those which are high frequency and those which are very high frequency, those two kinds. Secondly, they are divided into categories that are either land, fixed land is the real phrase, land, or mobile. So the first one we're going to do is we're going to do something really simple, and that is a VHF facility that's in your house. So if you click new, thank you, and then radio. Since this is a brand new facility, we do not know the registration number yet. That's a registration number that will be assigned by DIROX when it's approved. The same thing is true of facility name. We don't know yet. Search units, typically that's going to be your default. Since it's new, its last reinspection date and the inspection expiration date don't apply. The location is exactly the same as it was for both. So latitude degrees, minutes degrees, and north. Latitude and longitude in degrees and minutes and west. And we can now, location is not, well, yeah, okay, let's come down to the bottom here. We'll do this part first. This is where you actually put in the type of facility it's going to be. So it's going to be a land facility. And now we have the ability to put in we have the requirement to put in the actual equipment type. So if we come down to VHF FM and put a check mark in that box, and then let's just take as an example, ICOM, and the model number is F5021. And the VHF output and FM output is 50. The owner is AUX25, of course, and if we can go all the way back up to the top on the right-hand side, location does not apply at this point. It will at some point, but now it doesn't. And availability, we'll check, will be the type. Let me answer that question about mobile and transportable in just a moment. So availability would be all times. There's emergency power available. Since this is a VHF only, HF international call sign does not apply, and the VHF auxiliary radio call sign, you don't know yet, again, because this is a new facility. And you can go ahead and save that if you would, Chris. And then the question between mobile and transportable. First of all, transportable as a category is not the same level as either fixed or mobile. Transportable as a category is a subcategory of fixed, and that will be assigned by and decided by the OTO when it's submitted. So the basic difference between land and mobile is mobile means you can actually use the radio facility while it is in motion. Land obviously is land, it's fixed, it doesn't move, okay? Okay, so that answers that question. So now, as we had to do before, the first thing we need to do is add the ownership. So we'll go to facility ownership new, it'll be a member, and it'll be AUX25. Okay, and it's the owner, correct. All right, so now that part is done. Now the trick will be, what we need to do is have it inspected or schedule an inspection for it. And just as we did with boats, we open a new facility inspection record. It's radio. The requested inspection date, again, is exactly the way it was before. We'll do that today. The facility inspector will make that. HF radio approvers will come to later when we look at an HF radio. We'll leave that empty for now. And the same thing would be true here. It normally will be Rob Devoy, but now for our purposes here, it'll be Chris. So now we are ready to save it. Okay, so now we've created that record. So now the issue is going to be the actual inspection needs to take place. We probably don't want to go into the details at this point, but suffice to say, there is an approved, agreed upon process for doing, quote, virtual, unquote, inspections of radio facilities. When I say approved, it's been approved by the OTO, and that approval was passed along to the bridge this back in September. So that's there. Whether or not it has been appropriately pushed down to the deck plate, I don't know. But in any case, it will be in the near future. If you have not already received it, you will. There's like a 3-page document, 4-page document. And in that document are 2 forms, one of which will be the 7004 form, one of which is the second one. But let's talk about the 7004 first. Just as was the case that Chris described, when you do a new facility, you fill out the 7004 form. 2 reasons for that. One is the checklist. The second is that the OTO has required that for radio facilities, certain signatures are going to be required. A signature not only of the owner, of course, but also of the SOCM and the DSOCM. Interestingly enough, the 7004 form does not require a signature from the inspector. It requires some information from the inspector, but not a signature. So 3 signatures are going to be required on that. Once those signatures are there, then you'll be ready to upload that as one of the 2 files. Again, without going into the details, there is a second form which essentially describes the process of testing the facility in a remote or virtual way. And that has the requirement to put down and the information to document the fact that those tests were successfully required. Once those are completed, then they get uploaded to the associated with the facility record. And now you can go to the submit for approval. And this will be let's say submit inspection approval, and save or submit. Okay, so as it was exactly the same before, right now it has been it's been approved, it's been submitted. Now the actual inspection needs to be approved. And as to say, it says under inspection. So the next and last step for the inspector is to actually approve that inspection. So the inspector would click there, approve the inspection itself. Okay, we missed one. We didn't put an inspection date in, so that'll be done. And there we are. Now, when you go back and look at the facility inspection record, you'll see that it has been, the inspection itself has been submitted, has been approved, and has now been submitted to DIROX for review and ultimately for approval.
Right.
So
Exactly. Sorry, Bill. I was just going to say, and as far as the demonstration is concerned with this particular new facility, we're not going to take it any further than this. But it just like with the boat, what would happen is when we submit it or approve it, it's going to go to the under DIROX review. It's going to be on the OTO's desk, and he will either approve or deny it, and you'll get a notification back.
That's right. And that notification, by the way, comes back to the owner and to the inspector. It's been my experience because I've done a few of these, and it comes back to me as the inspector as well as going to the owner itself. Okay, let's go quickly to a second facility. This will be it'll be another new facility and radio. The only difference here, again, no registration, that's not known. The latitude, the location is the same as it was before. And this time we're going to make it the type is going to be mobile. And it's going to be a high frequency, medium frequency facility. So check that box. Now you put in the name of the radio. So radio 1, 100 watts, doesn't matter what you put in there. It can be anything at all or nothing. The answer to the question from Tom Payne, yes, they are. The latitude and longitude will be the location where the vehicle is normally kept. The only one we have to do is the HF one there. Again, down here, the ICOM 710, and everything else is the same. We'll come up to back up here. Again, the location can be Dana Point or yeah. You can grab that location actually. That's the one that's associated with AUX 25, of course. Availability all or weekends or weeknights, whatever. No call sign yet because it's new. Since it's mobile, emergency power does not apply, but it's there anyway. And since it's new, no facilities, call signs yet for it. Now, if we come down a little bit further, oh, no, it won't show up yet. Okay, so now we can go ahead and save it. And let me see if I keep reaching for the mouse, doesn't help any. And so now we'll do the same inspection. There's the only difference here is that because it's an HF radio, that means it has to be approved at national as well as being approved otherwise. But the first thing we need to do is to identify the ownership. And it's a member as well. And just pick one, and it's full owner, and that's it. Okay, so now we go back to the facility inspections and do it exactly the same way as we did before. The only difference is that you will see two more approval names, and they're right here, where it says HF radio approvers. This will happen automatically. These will be populated automatically. They're not yet, but they will be once we're finished with all this. And to answer from Norm, yes, if it moves, it has to have orders. Simple answer. I'll defer to that one later. I don't want to tackle that one since it's not entirely there. Okay, so you would, if you go up to BCRTI, Chris, and just put in start WELL. It's Donald Wellens, that one. Okay. And go over to DVCRT, Elliott, ELLIOT. Or yeah, David is with networks. We did this yesterday, so that's
yeah.
how it is. And so now you can save that.
Okay.
What did we miss? Oh, okay. Huh, interesting.
Yeah, and this could very easily be a sandbox thing, whereas in production it should work as advertised. So
yeah, it probably is.
I think
the other thing I was going to say was that, as Chris said earlier, talking about boats, one of the really important things here is going to be working with your SOCM, because since all this process is really new to most people, we're going to have to work pretty closely, especially with new facilities. But we'll do that, and that's something that you'll be hearing from the new DSOCM, and his ADSOs will come out in the near future. Those haven't been announced yet, but they will be, I'm sure, within the next couple of weeks.
right.
Lastly, and then I think we can move on unless you want to cover something else, Chris. The difference between a new facility and a renewal is what you obviously have to do is to put in the other information about, for example, the last expiration date, the last inspection date, that kind of thing, last reinspection and the like. Do we have one that's, yeah, that'll work. Okay. So this was approved, and therefore it can just be a reinspection. When you look at these, if nothing has changed, you don't have to do anything with it. However, in this particular case, we have no facility ownership recorded, so that's going to have to be added.
And this, of course, was a test entry that we were getting ready for this, and so there's a lot of information here that in an actual facility before it would be approved would be, for example, the location information, more about the radio, all the stuff we filled out on the other records when we showed you would be already here. But what Bill's pointing out is the last reinspection date will be populated for an approved status operational facility, and when the inspection date is due, and then so you don't start the process all over for an OFU. Obviously, what you're just simply going to do is request a new inspection for a reinspection. Right, Bill?
That's correct. That's all you really have to do is the reinspection and document it.
Okay.
I think that's it, Chris, isn't it?
Yeah, no, that's thank you very much. That's great info for the radio, and hopefully you all saw a little bit of repetition between the boat facilities, both offer for use and inspection process and patrol orders, and it'd be the exact same process here for the radios. Let me go into, let's see, patrol orders, and I wanted to show you approved. Here's a patrol order that has happened already. It's in the past. And because it's a radio, obviously a requirement is just one, and the crew is populated already. So if we took the time to go through this and we wanted to actually change it from approved to completed, then we would fill out all the activities here for the radio itinerary. We would upload any files that are required for that particular patrol. And again, any usage expenses, etc. And finally, we sign it as operator and sign it as claimant. And then to send it to the OIA, we would change the status from approved to completed. So that's the process. New to everybody. And yeah, that's it. So other moderators, any other questions?
Yeah, Chris, I got a question that's been asked. In order to enter as a new activity, as a radio patrol, excuse me, as a radio activity, are patrol orders required?
No, they should, although what Bill described was you should only use the radio option, whether you're entering it from a patrol order like we just did, like I just did here, or from the regular activity logs new, should be associated with an order, with a patrol order. Otherwise, you're going to be entering it as a unit individual. Now, I understand there's some confusion there because some people want to tie their facility to the activity, even if it's for a VHF net. Some of this we will discuss offline after the presentation. And if there's clarifying information to get out, we'll do that. But the general answer is you're only going to use aircraft, boat, or radio options for a new activity record type if you have orders in the system from the OIA. You're going to use unit individual otherwise.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, everybody. Going once, twice, three times for any more questions before we take another break. We'll take another 10-minute break, and then we are fortunate enough to have Laurel. And you don't want to miss this one, because if there is any mystery, well, there's a lot of mysteries in AUXDATA II, but this particular reports module or object can be and has been pretty confusing. Okay, it's getting better. Laurel will talk about this, but it's getting better all the time. The improvement over the last 5-6 months has been huge, and new reports and new templates are going in all the time. But when we come back from the break, Laurel's going to make us all experts in reports. Okay.